Cristiano Ronaldo's transfer to Al Nassr had caused a big shakeup in world football. Some people described this transfer as a show at the end of his career, while others said that he wanted to expand to the Middle Eastern Sunday before quitting football. But no matter what was written, all eyes were turned to him in the country the day he set foot in Saudi Arabia. Tens of thousands of people greeted him at the stadium. Camera flashes went off decently at the press conference. Social media had talked about this transfer for days. But the main thing was that it was going to happen in the dressing room behind these lights. Ronaldo was included in Al Nassr's star karma. But the first day he entered the dressing room, there was a tension in the environment. His teammates did not applaud him. Some even avoided making eye contact. Because Ronaldo was not just a transfer, he was like a shadow, the shadow of the stars. Some of the players who have been playing at Al Nassr for years knew that they would fall into the second place with his arrival. Moreover, Ronaldo's ego was a legend reflected in the world press. Where he came from, the hierarchy would change. Everyone knew that he was going to be the face of the club now. A lot of players didn't like that. The training sessions had started. Ronaldo was physically fine on the pitch, but the ball was coming to him late. Passes are being delayed. Some of them were hardly throwing passes at him at all. Although the teachers sensed this, they did not intervene directly. They fudged it by saying, the adaptation process. But Ronaldo felt everything. While there were conversations in the meeting room, eyes were running away from him. His teammates were joking around but not including him. They went to dinner together, but Ronaldo was left alone. His name was never mentioned in social media posts, and it was even mentioned that there was a private WhatsApp group within the team, except for Ronaldo. This exclusion was not breaking him, but it was suggestive. Dozens of trophies, thousands of goals, hundreds of millions of fans. Yet he felt alone in a dressing room, and this loneliness for the first time was making him quiet inside. Journalists noticed this situation. Is Ronaldo not wanted in Al Nassr? The news titled and had begun to spread. Even on a sports program, the former captain of the team said on live TV, "Some leaders cannot lead by silence. Ronaldo will gain nothing by staying here." But Ronaldo was silent. He wasn't speaking to the press or posting reproaches on social media. He was the first one to come to training every morning. He was running to every ball to the end, lifting every weight to the end, quietly pouring out every sweat. Some of his teammates are looking at him saying, "Has this guy still not given up?" He was saying. Some were still pushing him, some were ignoring him. But Ronaldo kept coming every day. Finally, one of the most critical matches of the season has arrived. This match, which would determine the leadership in the league, would change the fate of the team. But in the dressing room before the match, that familiar silence prevailed again. Ronaldo was sitting on the sidelines. Everyone was talking tactics, but no one was talking to him. The coach did not even look back at Ronaldo while explaining the strategy. The first half of the match was a disaster. Al Nassr was behind 2-0. The team was disbanded. The players were shouting at each other. Morale was low. Ronaldo was just watching. By the time Deck entered the dressing room at halftime, the tension had become palpable. Nobody was speaking. The coach was shouting, but it had no effect. At that moment, Ronaldo stood up. He put on the jersey without saying anything. There was a quiet determination in his eyes. The second half has started, and the Ronaldo who came out on the field was the Ronaldo we know. He wasn't just playing football, he was fighting. He was running to every ball, standing up in every collision, playing not only for himself, but for the team. As the minutes passed, the team recovered. 1-2, then 2-2. A free kick in the last minute, and Ronaldo is on the ball. The whole stadium fell silent. He hit. The ball went into the net, 3-2, and he did not rejoice. He just turned around, looked at his teammates. Now the story was just beginning. The stadium was collapsing after the free kick, but Ronaldo's expression had not changed. He didn't smile, he didn't clench his fist, he just turned to his teammates. And they did not know what to do. Some bowed their heads in shame, some applauded, but could not look into their eyes. On the way back to the dressing room, Ronaldo was still silent. The coach came in, made sentences of praise, but Ronaldo did not make eye contact. He just turned back to where he was sitting, wiped his sweat, took off his shoes. But this time, something had changed in the environment. There was a confusion, a regret in the looks of his teammates. For a week, no one said anything directly to Ronaldo, but behaviors started to change. Passes were no longer delayed in training. Communication within the game had become more fluid. Even one day, one of the young stars of the team turned to Ronaldo and said, "Brother, can we work one-on-one with you?" When he said that, the silence was completely broken. This change was felt not only on the field, but also off the field. Ronaldo was no longer eating alone. Ideas were asked at meetings. Some players had started sharing photos with him on social media. There had been a small fracture within the team, and this fracture had turned in Ronaldo's favor. But despite all this change, Ronaldo was still quiet. For him, everything started on the field and ended on the field. He had not forgotten what had been done to him. But he bore no grudge, because he had learned to forgive. Al Nassr's next match was going to be a test for the spirit of the team, not for the fans. The team was no longer just going on the field for 3 points, but to be reborn within itself. In the pre-match dressing room, the coach stopped after giving his speech. Eyes turned to Ronaldo. For the first time, he broke that silence of his own accord. He spoke in a hoarse but clear voice. "We're not just going to beat the opponent today. Today we will learn to forgive each other." There was complete silence in the dressing room. Then the captain came forward from the back row and walked towards Ronaldo, extending his hand. "The king, you are the leader today." Ronaldo shook that hand. There was still a calmness in his eyes, but for the first time something had changed. He was no longer just a footballer, he was an accepted leader. And this time, when he took the field, not only the goals were with him, but also the applause. Ronaldo was on the field again in that match, but this time, he was not alone. The young player who scored the first goal turned around with joy and jumped on Ronaldo's neck. The player who made an assist on the second goal ran directly to him. The team was now whole. The score was 4-1 when the final whistle of the match sounded. Al Nassr had defeated not only his opponent but also his own inner pride. The stands were standing. But when he returned to the dressing room, the silence was still there, because everyone was waiting for what Ronaldo would say. Ronaldo was silent this time, but it was short-lived. He got up, took off the jersey, put it on the floor. He took a deep breath. Everyone had their eyes on him. Then he raised his head and spoke. "Football is not played only with feet. You play with the heart, you carry it with pride. I didn't come here to be a star. I came here to be a team." And he continued, "Good players hit the ball. Great players give life to the team. Now the choice is yours." At that moment, everyone stood up. There was no applause, but there was fullness in the eyes, respect in the faces. It was the echo, not of the words, but of the meaning. The next day, a painting was hung on the premises of Al Nassr. There was only this sentence on it: "Football is won standing up, but you become a leader in the heart." There was no signature under it, but everyone knew. It was the sentence that inspired that painting, that broke the silence in the dressing room. Cristiano Ronaldo was no longer just a football player, but the quietly rising conscience of a team. And sometimes the greatest leadership would start with a sentence that was said at the very end.